I don't understand what you're saying. I don't speak your language, I only speak man to man.
We're in Green Bay, Wisconsin, where 22-year-old Ryan Desmith and 24-year-old Jordan Salmi are appearing on gun possession charges. 3 weeks earlier, the men attended a church Christmas pageant armed with loaded semi-automatic pistols. Desmith and Salmi are members of what's called the Hebrew Israelite community, along with former Green Bay Packer Kabir Baja Biamila, known as KGB. KGB was involved in a dispute with his ex-wife over his religious objections to their children appearing in the pageant. He asked the men to film the event in his absence for evidence. Desmith and Salmi refused to leave when church leaders asked. Police arrived and charged them both with disorderly conduct, obstructing an officer, and carrying a concealed weapon. Today, they're at the Brown County Court for a first appearance on the charges. And they're not going to make things easy for County Court Commissioner Cynthia Vopal.
Did you get my notice?
Your notice, sir?
I'm not a sir.
You can have a seat.
Have a seat, please.
The notice that Desmith asks about is one of a series of handwritten notes he and Salmi filed, which claim they're not part of the legal society and quote, idiots before the court. Their list of demands includes $300,000, no jail time, and various apologies and retractions. The commissioner moves on.
Do you plan on hiring an attorney?
I don't understand what you're saying. I don't speak your language, I only speak man to man.
Okay. I'm going to enter not guilty pleas on your behalf.
If you enter a plea on my behalf, you will be held fully liable.
And you will have these cases, we will be then sending this case upstairs.
Desmith's defiance and language are similar to courtroom strategies of the sovereign citizen movement, which claims that state courts hold no jurisdiction over them.
Who are you?
I am the court commissioner. I'm in charge of hearing this introductory hearing in the court.
Who are you?
She just answered the question, sir.
Sir, we don't have time for this. I have a courtroom full of people.
I'm not a sir.
The hearing ends when Desmith refuses to sign his bond paperwork.
Either sign this or we're gonna mark it as refused.
I deny service.
Okay. Refused, and then you can leave. Okay, you're done here.
Goodbye.
On his way out, he fist bumps his supporters, including KGB, who's watching from the gallery. The court has even less time for Salmi's dissent, which lasts only 30 seconds.
For I, man Jordan Salmi, am in a state of man, now passing forthwith. I'm not a
me take
responsible
him in.
defendant.
You can leave. I'm asking you to leave.
Is that an order?
Leave, please.
Five months later, despite more disruptive court appearances, Desmith and Salmi's obstructing and disorderly charges were dismissed as part of a plea agreement. They were sentenced to 1 year probation for carrying a concealed weapon and banned from owning firearms in that time. They also had to write letters of apology to officers at the scene of the incident.
There's no excuse for a human sitting in front of me. He is a waste of space.
Next, we head to Appleton, Wisconsin for a sentencing. 18-year-old Desmond Ellis has pled no contest to second-degree intentional homicide and first-degree reckless endangering safety. A year earlier, Ellis was in a shopping mall when he got into an argument with 19-year-old Giovanni Frosto, reportedly over a girl. Ellis pulled a gun and shot Giovanni, killing him and injuring a bystander, 20-year-old Colt Lemmers. The mall was evacuated, but Ellis escaped. He was captured days later in Iowa. Ellis was initially charged with first-degree intentional homicide, which carries a sentence of life in prison. To avoid a life sentence, he pled no contest to a lesser charge and is now looking at a maximum of 60 years. In a tension-filled courtroom, where some spectators have already been asked to leave, Judge Mark McGinnis sends a clear message. No matter what the sentence is, no outbursts will be tolerated.
You know, this is a sensitive and a very emotional afternoon, and I expect that everybody in here is going to act appropriately.
Before the judge announces his sentence, Giovanni's parents both deliver strong statements to their son's killer.
I'm sorry, excuse for a human sitting in front of me. Should not be free. He deserves life in prison. He is a waste of space. He deserves to sit in prison and think of why he's there and live with that.
The image of his little brother, I looked up to him, jump in his casket, lay on his chest for the last time. This breaks my heart every day.
The next person to speak is Colt Lemmers, who continues to struggle since the shooting.
I barely go outside my house. When I do, it's just to go shopping or to get food with my family. Sorry. I don't have any trust on anybody. I sit at my house and I do nothing with my life.
When Colt is finished, Ellis has something of his own to say.
I made a mistake that I regret, and I'm gonna regret it the rest of my life. I want you to know I'm truly sorry for what I did, and I'm sorry for the pain and suffering that I put you through.
Finally, with the gallery anxiously awaiting the outcome, the judge announces the sentence.
I'm going to sentence you to the Wisconsin State Prison System for a period of 55 years. Your initial term of confinement in prison will be 35 years. The time you will serve on extended supervision is 20 years.
As soon as the judge is finished, several members of the gallery begin to act out.
Hold on. Hold it, we're not doing
As a deputy places one woman in cuffs, a like-minded spectator seemingly tries to stop it. The first woman is removed, as the remaining spectators are asked to leave.
I'm sorry, son.
And as the group moves outside of the courthouse parking lot, emotions are still running high.
I don't care!
Officers are able to keep the peace, and ultimately there are no arrests. As for Ellis, in addition to the murder count, he's also sentenced to 5 years for recklessly endangering safety. In total, he received a sentence of 40 years in prison, plus 25 years of extended supervision. Next, we head to Madison, Wisconsin for a sentencing. 24-year-old Chandler Halderson has been convicted on 2 counts of first-degree intentional homicide, 2 counts of providing false information regarding a missing person, 2 counts of mutilating a corpse, and 2 counts of hiding a corpse. The victims, 50 and 53-year-old Bart and Krista Halderson, the defendant's parents. 8 months earlier, Halderson was living at his parents' home, spending most of his time playing video games. He'd been lying to them about attending college and working for an insurance company. He also told his girlfriend that he was offered a job at SpaceX. When his father figured out that he was lying, Halderson shot his dad in the back, killing him instantly. And when his mother returned home later that day, he shot and killed her too. A few days later, Halderson reported his parents missing and told police they'd been vacationing at a lake house and that he'd been unable to contact them. The defendant even spoke to the media and asked for the public's help in finding his parents.
What can people do to help find them?
Just maybe get the word out that, hey, maybe tell them to call their kids so we know they're all right.
The same day Halderson gave that interview, part of his father's dismembered body was discovered in a rural area a few few miles from the family's home. Remains of both victims were later found in different locations throughout the Madison area, including in the family's fireplace. Police also discovered several pieces of physical evidence that incriminated Halderson, including a broken saw blade, newly purchased cleaning products, and a gun hidden in the family's basement, which investigators believed was the murder weapon. Police soon charged Halderson with the murders. He pled not guilty. The case went to trial, and after both sides rested, the jury took just 2 hours to return with a verdict.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Chandler M. Halderson, guilty of first-degree intentional homicide.
6 months later, Halderson appears before Judge John Hyland to hear his sentence. Because of the seriousness of the crime and the fact that there's no death penalty in Wisconsin, Halderson is guaranteed a life sentence. The only remaining question is, will he ever be eligible for parole? Prosecutor William Brown argues against it.
Mr. Halderson, by all accounts, chose to commit the crime of first-degree intentional homicide twice on a single day because he was caught lying about where he was working and going to school. And then over the course of several days, chose to cut up those people's bodies and spread them around the state. I don't know how you protect the public from someone like that. It's my position that he should never be released from prison.
The defense argues that because of the defendant's young age, he should be given a chance to rehabilitate and eventually earn parole. Before the judge makes his ruling, the defendant, who did not take the stand at trial, speaks for the first time in court and shows no remorse.
Your Honor, I want to take this opportunity to state my intent to appeal my convictions. If there are any lawyers listening and willing to take on my appeal, take a moment to please reach out to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Finally, it's Judge Hyland's turn to make a statement and issue his ruling on Halderson's chance for parole.
I have to ensure that the only time Mr. Halderson comes back into the community is to have the privilege of a burial that he denied his parents. And so I sentence him to life in prison. I find that he is not to be eligible for extended supervision during that course.
Halderson was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He was able to retain a new lawyer and is appealing the verdict. Next, we take you to Milwaukee, Wisconsin for a sentencing. 21-year-old Eamon Washington has pled guilty to second-degree reckless homicide and second-degree reckless injury. A year earlier, Washington, who had a suspended license, was racing his friend Kevin Hightower while on the way to an ATM to get cash. The two cars were speeding, weaving in and out of traffic, when Washington crashed into another vehicle, killing 7-year-old London Cassidy. London was riding with her mother, who was also seriously injured in the crash. According to investigators, Washington was driving 107 miles an hour, just seconds before the crash in a 40-mile-an-hour speed zone. Washington and Hightower both left the scene of the accident, but were arrested a week later. Washington was initially charged with several felonies, including hit and run. But he took a deal and pled guilty to 2 of the more serious charges: second-degree reckless homicide and second-degree reckless injury. Today at sentencing, Washington appears before Judge Glenn Yamahiro to hear his punishment. The maximum he could receive is 27.5 years in prison. But first, Washington, who's been in custody for almost a year, makes a statement to the court.
I am very sorry for the actions that I did, and part of this accident, I'm sorry for speeding down the street. I was just trying to have fun with my friend at the time. I never intended to hurt nobody. I never intended to hurt that little girl. The first thought that crossed my mind was turning myself in, making sure that that family gets justice, and I still want to see them get justice today. So I honestly don't know what to say. I can't argue with the fact that they wish to see me get the maximum time. I agree. I can't be mad at them. I just hope that they can eventually come to forgive me so I can forgive myself, you know. But until then, I'm just sorry.
When Washington is finished, the judge has a statement of his own.
If there are many things in this life worse than having to bury your own child, I'm not sure what they are. There are no winners here, everyone's losing. I'm not here to judge him, I'm here to judge what happened, what needs to be done. Young men in particular have been driving fast since cars were invented. People are trying to demonstrate their manliness, you could call it whatever you like. And people in their late teens, early 20s, like yourself, frequently do not consider the consequences of their actions. I am not concluding that you had zero remorse here. I don't find this a situation where you're beyond rehabilitation, but this was a completely avoidable situation. Cars can kill people. It's not a video game. And far I'm concerned, in this community, it's a number 2 weapon at this time. So with the exception of firearms, this is it.
When he's done, the judge issues his sentence. 12 years in a state prison with credit for time served, plus 6 years of extended supervision. As for Hightower, Washington's friend who was speeding in the other vehicle, he was sentenced to 3 years probation. London's mother continues to recover from her injuries. Next, we're in Milwaukee, Wisconsin for a sentencing hearing. 21-year-old Daytwan Robinson has pled guilty to 2 counts of hit and run causing death and 1 count of hit and run causing serious bodily harm. A year and a half earlier, Robinson was driving through a Milwaukee neighborhood without a valid license when he stopped behind a car that was waiting at a green light to allow 3 children to cross at the intersection. Seeing that the light was green and that the driver ahead of him didn't move, Robinson veered around the car across a bike lane and crashed into the 3 children. 6-year-old Lisa Gee died that night from her injuries, while her 4-year-old sister Amia died a few days later. Their 10-year-old cousin survived, but suffered serious injuries. Robinson fled the scene, but left behind a piece of his car's duct tape-covered bumper. And just 2 weeks before the incident, Robinson had gotten into a fender bender with the same vehicle.
What's your first name? Daytwan. Please don't tell me you got the Saturn. Yes. Yeah, you're messed up.
The police body cam footage from the day of the fender bender helped investigators locate Robinson. He was arrested and pled guilty as charged. Today, Robinson's in court to hear his sentence. Since he has no previous criminal record, his potential sentence ranges between probation and 20 years in prison. Robinson's lawyer is asking for leniency.
October 24th, 2019, 3 beautiful children crossed Center Street against a "Don't Walk" sign. That's the truth. This is a case where the victims had no right to be in that intersection, but Mr. Robinson did.
But his argument is quickly rejected by Judge Janet Protasiewicz.
Well, actually, Mr. Robinson didn't have any right to be operating a motor vehicle, am I correct?
That's correct.
All right. He didn't have a driver's license.
Prosecutor Joy Hammond is asking for the max sentence of 20 years.
Motorists who were just there jumped out of their cars and ran to these children. But the person responsible for the accident, for the death of these little girls, turned around and left the scene. We're going to ask that you follow the recommendation of the state. I think it is appropriate. I think it is necessary, and I think it is justice.
When she's finished, Lisa and Amia's mother comes forward to deliver an emotional impact statement.
I still got a 5-year-old. And he still wonder, like, when they gonna wake up? As he get older, he wanna know this, that. And all he says, why they get run over by a car? I said, son, I don't know.
Before the judge imposes sentence, Robinson offers an apology to the victim's mother.
To the mother, I want to tell her that I'm very sorry, that, it was all my fault, and It was dumb. It was not smart to leave. I've never been a part of a problem like this. And the fact that I am a part of a problem like this, I will own up to it as a man before anything that my mama raised me to be. And I know it can't bring comfort to the family. It probably never will, but I'm very, very sorry. I'm probably gonna be sorry for every day of my life.
The last person to speak is Judge Protasiewicz, who refers to footage she recently viewed of the accident.
Watching the video, those children go flying up in the air like they're practically weightless. I really struggle to find words to describe it. And then you leave the scene. It's pretty clear to me that saving your own skin was much more important than what happened to these young children who were crossing the street. So, is probation appropriate in this case? Probation is not appropriate. The community has to know that we are serious. But a significant time of incarceration, I think, is warranted. Mr. Robinson, I don't think that I can really sentence you to anything less than 20 years of incarceration.
For the death of Lisa and Amia, Robinson was sentenced to 20 years in a state prison. For the injuries to the girl's 10-year-old cousin, Robinson was given a 3-year term, which will run concurrently. He'll be eligible for parole in 2039. He would be 39 years old.